Well, I'm here to tell you there is some moving and shaking going on in the Indiana Fever organization because they have definitely let go of a player. Now, I know y'all thinking, what does this mean? This means Caitlin Clark return is sooner rather than later. Could that be why we did not see Caitlin come back? I mean, we did not see Caitlin travel with the team this past week. I don't know.
The Indiana Fever just pulled a move that has the entire basketball universe buzzing. Kira Lambert, the woman who was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's temporary stand-in, just got the boot faster than a counterfeit sneaker at a Nike warehouse. And suddenly, every Fever fan with a smartphone and a theory is putting 2 and 2 together and getting Caitlin Clark's comeback.
Hey guys, today the Indiana Fever have officially released Kira Lambert, a guard from overseas who Stephanie White signed on a trust me bro recommendation. Somebody who Stephanie White didn't even know existed up until about 8 days ago. Unfortunately for Kira Lambert, her time on the Indiana Fever has come and her time on the Indiana Fever has gone. Best of luck to you and your future endeavors. This isn't
just another routine roster move. This is the kind of chess match that makes you wonder if the Indiana Fever are playing 4D chess while everyone else is still figuring out checkers. Because when you waive someone's replacement before their 7-day contract even expires, that's not about performance. That's about making room. And when you're making room in Indiana, there's only one person worth clearing the deck for.
Now, why is this move curious? Well, Lambert was on a 7-day deal, so the Fever could just be looking at this break knowing that her contract was going to expire anyway and not wanting to waste her time. But under the hardship rules, as that it has been, put out there and publicized, the Fever only had to release one of the 2 players between Odyssey Sims and Kira Lambert once Caitlin Clark was back. But one of them was going to have to go once they...
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. Just last week, the Indiana Fever were so desperate for a point guard, they basically put out a casting call for anyone who could dribble a basketball and wouldn't accidentally pass it to the opposing team. Kira Lambert came in, fresh off a successful stint in the Greek A1 League, full of overseas experience and speaking all the right words about faith, blessings, and being ready for her moment. The woman looked like she'd been preparing for this opportunity her entire life, talking about trusting God and remaining faithful through her journey.
It's a blessing, having the journey that I've had and just, remaining faithful, trusting God and doing the work, and just to see it all come back around and have this opportunity is awesome.
What's this opportunity in the W mean, given all that you've worked to get to this point?
Yeah. I mean, it means everything, to, again, just remain faithful and trust the process. It speaks to resiliency, it speaks to faith, and I'm really excited to be here.
What's your familiarity, if anything, with this team, with Steph, with how they want to run things?
Yeah, I've been watching the W for years. It's the best basketball in the world, so, I've been watching and I've been studying.
But here's where it gets juicy. Lambert didn't just get signed to fill a roster spot. She was brought in because the Fever were hemorrhaging point guards faster than a leaky faucet hemorrhages water. Caitlin Clark? Still nursing that stubborn groin injury. Ari McDonald? Season-ending broken foot. Sydney Colson? Torn ACL. The team was basically down to hoping someone's cousin from the local rec league could handle point guard duties.
Clearly, Odyssey Sims has played herself into more of a role for the Fever. She got a bunch of minutes in the game on Sunday, 42 minutes for Sims. Lambert didn't play, right? So you can see relative one to the other where the Fever were looking at things from the pecking order standpoint. Now, there's also the Sophie Cunningham injury, but to be honest, I'm not sure how that would impact things unless they felt they needed somebody at that position rather than more depth at the point guard position.
So they gave Lambert a 7-day contract, which in WNBA terms is like getting a trial run at your dream job. Except Lambert's trial run lasted about as long as a TikTok video. She saw less than a minute of action against the Connecticut Sun on August 17th. And by Monday, boom, she was out. Not because she played poorly, not because she couldn't handle the pressure, but because someone else might be coming back. Someone who sells out 15,000-seat arenas and makes ESPN analysts lose their minds.
We just saw the most pointless contract of all time. The most pointless 7-day of all time. Kira Lambert They didn't even give Kira Lambert a page on the WNBA website. I'm not joking. Like, you type in WNBA.com and you look at the Fever's last game. Maybe they updated it because she actually saw the floor. Fever versus Connecticut. Kira Lambert played a grand total of 4 seconds. She played 4 seconds. It would have been better off just to not play her. Oh wait, it rounded up to 5. They didn't even give her a WNBA page. They did not even give her a WNBA.
Now here's where Fever fans are channeling their inner detectives and connecting dots like they're solving a murder mystery. As Indy Star beat reporter Chloe Peterson pointed out weeks ago, when the Fever signed veteran guard Odyssey Sims, they had room to work with. If they just stuck with Sims, they wouldn't need to cut anyone when Caitlin Clark returns. But once they added Lambert to the mix, well, basic math says one of them had to go when the Queen returns to her throne. And guess who got the pink slip first? Lambert. Not Sims, the 33-year-old veteran with 304 career games under her belt. Lambert, the woman who was supposed to be the bridge until Clark returned, the woman who spoke about dreams and opportunities and trusting the process.
Fever fans, I don't know, we might have some good news. Well, we might have some great news. Cece, my precious Cece, might be returning. Might be. You hear me? Because they just released Kira Lambert. You hear me? She had 3 ACL tears. So she wasn't good for nothing anyway. She fragile. How you have that many ACL tears? But thank you for providing us 7 days of your presence. You hear me? We needed you to fill in. You hear me? Because the GOAT, the greatest of all time, is about to return and do.
But let's talk about timing, because the timing here is more precise than a Swiss watch. ESPN recently updated their injury report, moving Caitlin Clark's estimated return date from August 12th, which came and went, to August 26th, when the Fever faced the Seattle Storm at home. Meanwhile, the Fever have a convenient week-long break starting after their Sunday game against Connecticut, giving them plenty of time for a certain superstar to get back into practice rhythm. ESPN's broadcast team even noted that this break is exactly when Coach Stephanie White hopes Clark will return to practice, with the understanding that she'll need multiple days in practice before she gets into a game. And what happens right after that break? 2 games against Minnesota and the August 26th home clash with Seattle. Exactly the games ESPN is targeting for Clark's potential return.
But we did know that once Caitlin Clark was back, one of the 2 hardship signings was going to have to go. So that's naturally where people's heads were thinking when it was reported on the ESPN broadcast that Clark, the hope was she would return to practice this week, with target dates the 22nd, 24th, 26th, those games being thrown out as potential return dates. Now, I don't have any other updates on that. I mean, I took Stephanie White's comments as they hope still she returns at the regular season a little less confident than the previous.
So let's see. Lambert gets waived just as the Fever enter their break week. Clark's estimated return aligns perfectly with the end of that break. The team keeps the veteran Sims, but cuts the overseas import. If this isn't orchestrated, then coincidences must be having a field day in Indiana. The fan reaction has been nothing short of volcanic. Social media is exploding with Caitlin Clark celebration gifs, countdown timers, and speculation that would make conspiracy theorists proud. The Fever are currently 18-15 and desperately fighting to maintain their playoff position. They're just 2.5 games ahead of 9th place, a spot that would knock them out of the playoffs entirely. Meanwhile, they're only 3 games behind the New York Liberty and 3.5 games out of the 2nd overall seed. With Clark's return, suddenly those lofty goals don't seem so impossible. Poor Kira Lambert probably thought she was getting her big break. Here was a woman who'd spent 4 years overseas, dominated in the Greek A1 league, and finally got her shot at WNBA glory. She talked about the opportunity meaning everything to her, about remaining faithful and trusting the process. The Fever organization welcomed her with open arms, and she seemed genuinely excited to contribute to a team she'd been watching and studying for years.
Can the Fever please invest in international scouts? They definitely need to invest in international scouts because I know your boy John Liquidator ain't the best advocate when it comes to overseas players, but something I would say, they play hard, bro. Those overseas players play like they got something to prove. I give them that. But far as me, I feel like we got enough talent here at home in our home country to get players. Somebody said every day I question if Amber Cox and Stephanie White are even on the same page.
But in the cruel world of professional sports, understanding the system and fitting in perfectly doesn't matter if someone better is coming back. Lambert wasn't cut because she wasn't good enough. She was cut because she was never meant to be permanent. She was a placeholder, a bridge, a temporary fix, while the real solution recovered from injury. Let's be brutally honest about what Caitlin Clark's return would mean for this Indiana Fever team. This isn't just about getting back their leading scorer or their primary playmaker, though she was averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5.0 rebounds before her injury. This is about getting back the gravitational force that makes everything else work. Coach Stephanie White has been talking about how the team will be even more dangerous when Clark returns, and she's not just blowing smoke. This Fever squad has learned to play without their superstar, developing chemistry and toughness that they didn't have last season. Players like Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Natasha Howard have stepped up in Clark's absence, showing they can contribute at a high level. When Clark comes back, she won't be carrying the entire load. She'll be the final piece that makes an already improved team truly dangerous.
Throughout her second season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has posted 16.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 8.8 assists per game for the Indiana Fever. Clark started the season on a tear under Stephanie White, but has since struggled to stay on the court, playing her second season as a professional. The Fever have 9 remaining games of their regular season schedule. They have a long break before their next matchup on Friday. The venue will be open, giving Clark a chance to rehab as the Fever take several days off from game action.
Here's where things get really interesting. The Fever currently sit in 6th place, which would put them in the playoffs, but without home court advantage. But with 11 games remaining and Clark potentially returning, suddenly some ambitious goals don't seem so far-fetched. One analyst broke down the math beautifully. Clark has missed 20 games this season, during which the Fever went 10-10. But imagine if she'd played those 20 games and they'd gone 15-5 instead. That would put them at 23-10 and suddenly in contention for a much higher seed. Even now, with their current record, the Fever are only 3 games behind New York and 3.5 games out of the 2nd overall seed. In a league where momentum can shift quickly and hot streaks matter, having Caitlin Clark return for the final stretch could be exactly what propels them into serious playoff contention. The dream scenario that fans are whispering about? Clark returns healthy, the team gets hot, and they make a legitimate run at not just making the playoffs, but potentially hosting a playoff series. For a franchise that hasn't made the playoffs since 2016, that would be nothing short of miraculous.
Fever, we have a chance. But the only thing I'm concerned about is she 100% healthy? You hear me? And I need to know what's going on with Sophie, because that's her enforcer. Because everybody else on the team be acting like they scared and softer than Charmin tissue. You hear me? Y'all better protect my precious CC by any means necessary. Playoffs. That's right there in the view. You hear me? Here we come. The referees need to get it in gear. I still don't trust Stephanie.
Looking back at the Fever's roster moves over the past few weeks, everything starts to make sense. They signed Odyssey Sims first, a veteran guard with extensive experience and proven playoff pedigree. Then, they added Lambert when they needed more depth. But they structured these moves in a way that gave them maximum flexibility. By keeping Sims and releasing Lambert, they've maintained veteran leadership while preparing for Clark's return. Sims can continue to provide steady minutes and leadership while also being capable of sliding back into a reduced role when the franchise player returns. It's the kind of strategic thinking that suggests the front office knew exactly what they were doing all along. This wasn't panic management. This was calculated roster construction designed to keep the team competitive while positioning for their star's return. And if the timing works out the way fans are hoping, it's going to look like a masterpiece of team management.
That they are being extraordinarily deliberate with every step in this process when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But like I said on Sunday, that's the kind of win, if I'm CC, that I watch and say, I got to get back out there. Like, nothing can stop me from rejoining this team this season. That fight that they showed out.
But here's what everybody's missing while they're focused on Clark's return. This situation has revealed just how much depth and character this Fever team has developed. They've won key games without their best player. They've found ways to compete against playoff teams while dealing with multiple injuries. They've discovered that players like Natasha Howard can be legitimate offensive weapons and that their supporting cast is much stronger than anyone realized. When Clark does return, she's not coming back to the same team that struggled early in the season. she's coming back to a group that's learned how to win ugly, how to grind out victories, and how to play team basketball. That's the kind of foundation that can make playoff runs possible. The other ripple effect? The rest of the league is watching. Teams that might have written off the Fever as a one-player show are now going to have to prepare for a much more complete team. The element of surprise that comes with a battle-tested supporting cast plus a returning superstar could be exactly what makes this Fever team dangerous in ways nobody expected.
If she's going to play, I hope that she comes back successful. I hope that she can come back as a difference maker because the playoffs are around the corner and the Indiana Fever are much better when she's on the team. She takes so much responsibility and able to dictate pace and able to control the momentum of the game and also generate points for herself and for others. And she makes the game easier for all her teammates. So I know they would love to have her back. My biggest concern is the injuries, and for selfish reasons, I would prefer her, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese to just sit out for the rest.
So here's what everyone's really wondering. When exactly does Caitlin Clark return? The signs are pointing to somewhere between August 22nd to 26th, with the Seattle game on August 26th looking like the most likely debut. Coach Stephanie White has been careful not to commit to specific dates, saying it's day-to-day, and emphasizing that they're slow playing it to ensure Clark's long-term health. But the pieces are falling into place. ESPN's broadcast team noted that the week-long break starting after the Connecticut game is when White hopes Clark returns to practice. Lambert's release suggests roster space is being cleared. The timeline aligns perfectly with previous injury recovery estimates. If, and this is still an if, Clark returns around August 26th, she'll have roughly 10 to 12 regular season games to get back into rhythm before the playoffs start on September 14th. That's enough time to shake off rust, rebuild chemistry with her teammates, and get the team's offensive system running at full speed.
I mean, it has come down to this season and Caitlin Clark's return. If they hope to make the playoffs, this is what's got to be done. She's got to come back, and she's going to have to win. And she's got to win even with Stephanie White as her coach. Good Lord, she will be the GOAT if she can pull that off at this point.
Imagine Caitlin Clark returns healthy for the final 10 games of the season, and the Fever go on a rampage, winning 8 of those 10 games. They finish with a record around 26-14 or 27-13, good enough for home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. They enter the postseason with momentum, confidence, and a battle-tested supporting cast around their superstar. Is it realistic? Maybe. Is it possible? Absolutely. The Fever have shown they can compete without Clark, and they've shown flashes of brilliance even while dealing with multiple injuries. With their franchise player back and healthy, there's no reason they couldn't get hot at exactly the right time. The Western Conference is loaded with talent, but the Eastern Conference playoff race is wide open. Teams like New York and Atlanta are good, but they're not unbeatable. A healthy, motivated Fever team with nothing to lose and everything to prove could be exactly the kind of story the WNBA playoffs need.